Good evening. This is February 24th, and we are at tonight at the Independent Nation, a program that is designed to educate and advocate individuals and citizens of this land to participate and even, if it's possible, to get involved in the process of the democracy during the election time. My colleague John Richardson tonight is absent because of some pre-arrangement and cannot be with us tonight. However, tonight I have two guests that are here to be challenged by me or challenging me to the questions that can come across among all of you people who are considering to be part of this electoral process. With me is these two people are from two different walks of life, one from the younger generation, an immigrant and a student, and another one, entrepreneur and local native, not native Canadian, but Caucasian native, so to speak, and with a little bit older age. So let me ask them to introduce themselves first.
Segan Akinsanya.
And?
Hugh Riley.
And by the way, Mr. Riley is the president of this studio that is honor us tonight to stay with us for this practice. My first question from both these gentlemen is, have you ever or are you considered to be a candidate for the election at any level?
Gee, I thought you were going to ask me if I was ever a member of the Communist Party.
No. We don't go that
Which
far.
I would have to...
First we warm up.
I would have to say I'd take the fifth on that.
The fifth, eh?
I don't want to,
Well, there is no communist anymore, is there?
Actually, there are, and they're coming on my show in a couple of weeks.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Communists.
Well, Marxist-Leninists.
So you did run before.
I didn't. No, they're just going to be on the show. They're just going to be on the show. Yes.
When was that? Can you elaborate on that? Can let people know at least if you if you have ever been a candidate, or if you just consider to be one?
Well, no. When I was younger, I was very politically active.
Okay.
And in fact, there's only two political parties I've ever had official memberships in.
In Ontario, in the federal level, or just in the municipal?
Well, actually, when I was young in high school, I was, if you can believe this, Bauman, I was a member of the Young Conservatives of Ontario.
I believe it.
Young Conservatives of Ontario.
I believe it.
Well, I was involved in those. Those were the days when Bill Davis was premier.
Oh, well,
right.
Those are like glorious days.
Yeah, those are the good old days. And
really?
And in my riding, where I was, there was always a tough battle between the Conservatives and the NDP for that's the seat, the provincial seat. And so, a lot of people got active because it was a really tough election every time.
And what were you doing? Were you a candidate, or just helping
I wasn't
a candidate?
Okay. I was campaigning,
okay.
And I think I was a scrutineer during the election.
Yeah. So you have good grasp of how the process works.
Yeah.
Let us our young Segan that.
So I never. I don't want to run for any election or be a candidate in any of it, but I've been part of the process intensely. Like. I've participated on debates. I hosted I hosted all candidate debates.
Where was that and when was that?
That was back in 2011. 2011, we hosted one at Humber College, and it was with the Premier Wine right now that's there. It was with the Green candidate, the Green Party candidate, and it was with a Conservative. and the NDP. I forgot their name because they didn't win. So when you don't win, nobody remembers your story.
I guess Win won.
Win won.
Win did win, and she actually became the Minister of Transportation, and
now look at her.
And now she's the
She's
premier.
the future ex-premier of Ontario.
Right? Did I say right?
Well,
I mean, like, maybe.
But funny thing that you said that, because the way I see that Conservatives campaigning, Ontario Conservative campaigning, are not really very agile.
No, they're not. Well,
So I'm thinking of
He
another.
lost his write-in.
What?
Tim Hudak lost his position in his write-in, and he soon will not be the opposition leader.
Really?
Because he doesn't have a write-in.
Wait a sec. Did they have a by-election? That's
Yes,
my
they
riding.
had-
That's
they
my
had a
home
by-
riding.
And he's active in politics.
But
No, sorry. Let's not get
Sorry.
liable for that. Tim Hudak hasn't lost his.
He lost his write-in. Tim Hudak.
in a by-election?
Yes.
Which
Tim
by-election?
Hudak
We had two by-elections.
He lost his seat.
One was Niagara and one was the Thornhill. Thornhill was won with another Conservative, which the previous one resigned, and Niagara was won by the NDP. That means Liberal lost.
Well, wait, because I know Tim Hudak is in my home riding of Welland. I don't know what the name of the riding is. It might be called Niagara South or
I
something.
think it's Niagara because Hudak lost
But there's
his
a
write-in.
couple of Niagara
No,
ones.
I think that is me. That it has to be examined because Hudak still is there, and if he lost, he couldn't be there. But
And I have to say this, though. I know, because it's my home riding, and Tim Hudak was the member, it's a very strong NDP riding, so he could have lost.
Yeah,
to the
but
NDP.
there is three in Niagara Falls, Niagara something else, and so on.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: why, or don't forget about why, are you thinking of running as a young man to represent your ridings, or at least make some changes?
I'm not gonna run. I'm not gonna run.
What is the reason behind that? I'm not trying to get personal, but I am pretty sure a lot of people who are watching our program are having the same answer. If I ask them, "Are you going to run?" No. But we never know why.
Well, everyone has different reasons. Like my reasons, I would run if I could turn the time back and change my past.
Which that is never happens.
But I can't turn the time back and change my past, so because I'm not up for dirty politics, and
You don't have to.
no, I do. If they come after me, they're gonna bring dirty politics because the world will love me. But then they'll just try to tarnish my name. So.
He has the confidence as well as doubts at the same token. How about you? You're in a good position to run.
Well, it's funny that I like this question because, when I was younger, I was very seriously thinking that at some point I would get involved in politics and maybe run or something like that. And then I think, I'm still... Okay, big long answer is that there's a formal political structure and then there's an informal political structure. Okay. So the parliament and the political system, the formal political system, has been losing power steadily. And more decisions are made outside the formal political process.
You mean outside of the structure of the Queen's Park?
Yeah, there's more decisions that impact the collective society happen behind corporate closed doors than happen in Ottawa.
Oh, okay, so you go beyond
or
that.
that happen in Parliament.
So you're saying the plans are created outside of Parliament. They're not discussed in Parliament or by the committees. They're creating committees outside of Parliament to get
it's not even committees created by the government. It's just the fact is that the media carries more power than the formal political system now.
What's the example?
Well, the good example is, instead of giving an example, let me just say that when the political system was created, the parliamentary democracy, representative democracy system was created, that was in a technological environment, like of the horse and buggy technology, right? So horse and buggy technology means that, you elect somebody to represent your town. They get in their horse and buggy and they go to the capital city and they represent your community at the national level.
That's correct.
So
it's supposed to be like that even today, but it's not.
well,
But
the thing is now the technological environment has changed.
Okay.
And so where a parliamentary representative democracy made sense in a horse and buggy technology environment, it doesn't make sense today because media has more power. Because, and I'll just say, when kids or when anybody spends 20 hours a week watching TV, their mental attitudes are going to be influenced by that television.
of course.
And therefore, and then the culture that's immersed in that environment, the culture's attitudes will be more affected by that television watching, by that media environment that they're in, than the power that the formal political system has to deal with social issues. The media has a bigger impact on social issues than the formal political process. So, anyways, long story short, so the reason I became less interested in getting involved in the formal political process was because I saw that the real power lay elsewhere.
Let me, because both of you are having some sort of the apathy because of the lack of justice and lack of real transparency that is happening right now in all three levels of the government, and that really turned you down about even thinking about that, as I gather based on your answers. My question is, don't any one of you think that this is the time that really someone step up and to the plate and tries to change that? That is my question.
I think people are already trying it across the board. There's tons of people trying to change the way things work. But yeah, like my professor said, my TA said actually, and he was like his professor told him. And he was writing a book on economics, because economics is everything. Economics is everything about politics. You can't talk about politics unless you talk about economics. And you can't talk about economics unless you talk about politics, right? So he said, the poor will always cry, but the rich will always rise. There's no room for your voice if you have no money on the table. So if I'm a politician and I need to run, and I need money to run, and you are giving me the money to run, I owe you. But hey, I'm representing him, and he's like, hey, please talk to me, please help me out. Well, I need money. Can you give me some money? He'll say no, but
he doesn't have it,
right? But you'll say I got it, right? So what am I supposed to do now when we come to a situation where if you want B, which is, say you want to build a building where his old church is, and he's like, oh, don't lose that church. It's historic. Don't lose it. I need it. I'll be like, well, it's a real historic church, and I know it means a lot to you. However, these guys helped me get into power.
What do you say about that? He illustrates exactly what is happening.
Well, I think one of the things that has happened, and I've seen it in my short lifetime.
800 years old.
How can a lifestyle be short?
No, he started a lifestyle between poor and rich.
Lifestyle.
And by the way, for the record, it was just example. I am poor.
Me too. Donate.
Well, I've got lots of money, so don't worry about it.
So he had to change the finger pointing.
It's him who donates.
So you think that even though we know all of that, and we know that all of this struggle of the poor or lower class, economically, of course, I'm not talking about intellectually, economically, the lower class that we are in this fight between class or clash of classes, don't you think it is more than any time, is it necessary that people step up and do something about it? And isn't it the right way to go through the process and get elected and make those changes?
Impossible.
Well, that's a big question. First of all, what I was going to say was what I've seen in my lifetime is that there's been more and more of an emphasis and more an importance of money in every process. Right?
Monocracy, not democracy, monocracy.
It's just the money's more important to everybody now. It used to be, you didn't need so. It was like less things were monetized. Now, just a simple example. When I was a kid, I used to go fill my bike tires up at the gas station with a free air pump. And it was a good one too. It was a pneumatic
actually
one.
had air.
Not one of those motorized ones that make all the noise
Yeah.
and take all day to fill your tire. That cost 50 cents now.
$1.
Well, it's
going
still
up.
50 cents in my neighborhood, Pawan, thankfully. But anyways, that's just one example about how more and more stuff falls under the monetary system. Part of the reason is I think people are squeezed more and more by the monetary system. And one of the things that when we hear the statistics that the middle class is being squeezed out, what the middle class was in a
balance
sense
in check.
the middle class emerged arguably in Britain with the Magna Carta. Was the first time that the middle class, because they weren't poor people, the knights that had the Magna Carta signed to assert rights from the monarchy. Those were essentially the middle class, or the beginning of a middle class. People who were wealthy enough and educated enough to have enough self-respect to say, no, we're not just going to do what the king wants. We're going to stand up for our rights and make it happen. And so, and then we saw through the Industrial Revolution, through the history of Britain, through the democratization of Britain from being a pure monarchy, and then seeing that same kind of thinking and philosophy, the success of it was emulated by countries all over the world. We saw a strong middle class that had decent income and had decent education, that was able to stand up for itself, assert their democratic rights, participate in the political process, and essentially set the agendas for the Western world. And
So what's happened in the last 30, 40 years?
what we're seeing now is we're seeing the money pressure come down on everybody, and we're seeing the middle class squeezed out.
No, I mean what's happened to that insight of that resilient insight of those people who wanted to stand up and say we don't put up with this.
Well, I mean, that's a big question. You could, I don't know if I have the definitive answer, but I could say the decline of the church, perhaps. You could say that it's a media issue if you look at it from a McLuhan perspective, that McLuhan would argue that all that kind of individualism was a product of the print culture that emerged after Gutenberg invented the printing press. And now as we move into the television age, different aspects of the brain are emphasized, and it makes us more collective. And that individualistic kind of initiative has been
Shifted
supplanted by a more collectivist, a different emphasis. And you can, and the hippies of the 60s were the first TV generation, and everybody that's come along since then is more and more. They're less.
Were you hippie?
Or
I was a post-hippie.
you know what? And I think that's one side of it. I think there's also another side of it that underlines everything. And a lot of the money that's been made, a lot of the wealth that's been made has come through atrocities, has come through hurting and killing people, has come through a lot of inhumane things. And what we've seen over time is those humane things have been outlawed. They've been stopped over time. And then the wealth is not coming the way it used to come for the mass population. The whole industrial revolution, all of these things were fueled by atrocities. All of these things.
Well, it is nature of human. It goes back to Roman times.
That's what I'm saying.
There's nothing new about that.
There isn't nothing new, but then what is new is this economic system that was built off atrocities. And because it was built off atrocities, it can't sustain itself. Because it wasn't built for everybody. It was built for the rich. It was built for the rich to maintain their power and to give and control people.
Well, you know that in recent elections or by-elections, either federal or provincial, in many ridings we had number of candidates from either independent, fringe party candidates, and so on, and number of the all candidates meeting were held, which did not, they did not let other candidates outside of the main three or four mainstream parties take part.
Because they have no money.
And then I was asking about why you are not running. I was asking some people why they are running, because there are people who are running that in spite of all of this, and still they think they can do a little bit of the change, yours included, yours truly included. And I want to show you a slide for you, if it's possible, about the reasons that some people are trying to run. They want to expose themselves or their ideas to the public. They run to confront incumbents, to address certain issues and get them committed to doing something about them after they get elected. Some run to be part of the process that affects their livelihood and families. Some run because they don't have anything else to do. Some run to give it a try. Some run to learn what it takes to run in a campaign. Some run to amuse themselves and share their venture with their friends, family, and colleagues. Some run because they just want to add another experience to their resumes. Some run to gain reputation, good or bad. Some run to make contact, meet people, and even a partner. Some run because they are just frustrated with the status quo. Some run to get into the Guinness Book of Records. And there are many, many more reasons. So the issue is out of these 15, 16 reasons that you can run, still people don't want to come up with another reason for themselves to stand up in front of the mainstream parties, corporate, banks, so-called tycoon capitalism that affects their livelihood.
But again, running is really about, and I'll be bold and frank about it. Politicians can't make any change. Politicians can't make any change.
Cannot? Or?
Cannot. There's no way for them to make a change. Do you know why there's no way for them to make a change?
Why is that?
Because it's the simple fact of policy choices. The rich control the politicians. We agree? So, if there's a policy that goes against the rich, and so the greatest example, taxes. If they were to raise taxes a little higher, like they planned in France, there was a rich person in France that says, if you raise the taxes higher, I am just going to leave the country. I am just going to leave the country. That term is called capital mobility. So if a government decides to work in the purpose of the social justice, and that goes against the economic profits, they will just leave the country. They have that right to leave the country. And if they leave the country, that messes with the GDP, that messes with the deficit, that messes with even the politicians' money to run again. So again, because capital is so mobile, we cannot make change with the system we are in. There is no possible way. I don't have the answers, but for me to run and say, I want to make change, I'm just one vote. I'm one vote amongst a corporate elite of people. Look,
do you think that winning is more important than just getting in front of them?
Even getting in front of them, I think time has come where there, just as he said, there's informal decisions being made outside of government in corporate back rooms. The people need to make informal decisions and make those decisions for the betterment of the people.
Let me, because you're very young. How old are you? If I'm not
26.
26. Maybe you were 2 years old when Bob Rae came here as the Premier of Ontario under the NDP. You remember that?
Of course I remember, Bob.
Don't you think that what he just described happened then?
Well, I think by the time Bob Rae got into power in Ontario...
I mean, the movement of the capital outside of the province of Ontario, I mean.
Well,
I didn't even know about that.
I mean, the thing is, I think, frankly, the issue, which I tend to agree, well, for sure, that's a great point. It's true, especially as we become more globalized. There was a time when you could make a law in Canada and the capital wouldn't flee the country, or not to the same extent it does now. But in the globalized world, capital flight is very easy, right? But the thing, even when Bob Rae got to power, he could not do a traditional NDP platform.
Probably
he could not
just Rooster go try to get back home.
because they didn't have the money.
Yeah.
They could not go and borrow
No, that
the
is
money.
why I'm saying that. What he illustrates, because they didn't have the money.
I'm making a slightly different point, and that is that there was a time when a socialist government that got elected in Canada could do things like implement a Medicare system, or implement in certain provinces nationalize the insurance industry. But to think about doing that in Ontario today is, although it might be a good idea, it's just not going to happen, because more and more that power has gone to the private sector. They're just not going to let that happen, even though it's a democratically elected government. It just is too much. There's too much inertia to actually, for any government to even think about socializing the insurance industry in Ontario.
Or national or energy.
Nationalizing anything. And they can't go and borrow the money. They can't tax and spend because of capital flight and for other reasons. Governments can't just keep raising taxes and raising taxes and raising taxes. The people won't put up with it, and the corporate sector won't put up with it. Even though, and government still doesn't matter if it's a conservative government or a socialist government in power, they're all horrible at managing the money and the budgets.
So they are just three different color suits.
Yeah, so it's like, they are going to have to raise taxes. It's just the conservatives will do it slower, and they won't add to the services, and the socialists will just not cut services, and they'll increase taxes. But there's no scope to even put forward a socialist political platform these days.
Well, let me put it this way. You were not, as I said, when Bob Rae came to the power in 1990, a number of the businesses start to move outside of the province, even to south of the border.
Capital mobility.
Yeah. And let me ask you this then. Let me ask you one of your own famous questions. So what's now?
I mean, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Where the real problem lies, and what do we need to
do?
But I want to answer
We are getting to that. We are getting to that. Relax. Oh, I know
where the real problem lies.
No. We know what it. Let's say we know what it. Let's say all of these things that they discussed is real in a sense of 100%. So, like a doctor, we know what is the disease.
Yeah.
What is the cure?
Okay. Actually, let
young, enthusiastic.
But I want to answer this too.
I think there's a deeper disease. There's a deeper disease, and I'm gonna give you an example of car pollutions, and we're gonna talk about economics and their idea of efficient policies, right? So, in your case, right? Do you think a car is a good thing? Yes or no?
It could be a good thing, but in general, overusing it, no.
Okay, but you need to use it, right?
Of course, you need it for mobility, yes?
Exactly, right? So, but again, do we not pollute the world? Are we not causing climate change?
It is the price you pay for everything that you do.
Exactly. So now the question is that we know that we're polluting the world and we're creating climate change, and climate change is inevitably going to destroy the world, right? So, because we know this, why are you still driving your car?
Again, it is just a matter of priorities. Do you want to keep the people die from hunger, or do you want to carry lettuce from south of a border to here?
So even clearer terms, it's living standards. Us as people, especially in the Western society and in the global North, has come to terms with a certain living standards. And because we come to terms with these living standards, we do not want to let that go, and we will never relinquish that. Because as you just said, you will always need to drive the car to be mobile. You'll never go back to the era of buggy. And car companies will never start to think about bringing in water or electrical cars as we get fully electrical cars that don't have any gas or any of those comparisons. Because again, just as you need to be mobile, they need to get profits. There's a certain living standard that has corrupted our way of thinking. That's the disease.
Okay. And how do you? What remedies comes to
What's
your
the
mind?
remedy?
Yeah, that is the question. You see, no, one of the things that I confronted with all of these politicians, especially with the mainstream politicians at the time of the campaign, they are very good speakers, and they come and they illustrate how problems cause pain in the body and soul of the constituents, but none of them provide a solution.
Because the solution's not easy.
I understand that. But if we want to sit and do the same thing that they do, that is not separate us from them.
Yeah, you said you were going to have a solution.
So
What's
what
the
is
solution?
I got the solution. The solution is reevaluating our living standards. Reevaluating everyday people, not the politicians, not the corporate, but everyday people that go and buy things. You have to reevaluate your living standards and how you want to live. Because until you reevaluate your living standards, how can you ask a system to reevaluate how it works with you? You can't ask. It's like it's the man in the mirror. You can't ask the world to change if you're not willing to change yourself.
I agree what you say, but still, it is still you are illustrating the symptom and signs of this disease. How about you? Do you have any cure for it?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Let's hear this one.
let's hear it.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Well, one of the biggest problems is how we define money in this world.
Okay. So, how do you define the money as it is now?
Let's just look money for a second. What money is it's like that first Nirvana album cover. Okay, so you got the baby in the water with a fish hook and a dollar bill on the fish hook. Okay, it's a good. That's an example of how the money system works today.
Okay,
and people go through their whole lives without even questioning what money is. Money is a human invention.
Yes, it's a medium of exchange.
Money
supposed to be a medium exchange.
Money has a set of rules that underlie it, and some of those rules include things like you get interest if you borrow, or you pay interest if you borrow money, or if you're a bank, you collect interest, compound interests. The way we finance our houses is we take out a mortgage, which is again another human invention that has these rules, and so you buy a house for $300,000, and by the time you pay it off, you've paid $2 million in compound interest. And the way that and that's all just the way we define money, the way that people, not you or me, invented these rules. And who does it benefit? It benefits the people who are lending that money, who are creating that money
lenders
through a debt system. Okay? This is the fundamental problem that's ruining every economy all over the world, and it's going to ruin everybody unless we do something about it.
Okay, now we come back again, unless we do something. And what is that something?
We need to reinvent money.
How like a Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's one attempt. Bitcoin is one attempt at reinventing money.
So I can start sending drug dealers money on the internet. Nobody knows.
Let me just make a little point. They arrested that guy, head of that one Bitcoin exchange, because they said that the Bitcoins were being used to buy contraband. Okay, using the same logic, then the people who run the Federal Reserve should be arrested for the same reason.
And euro and
because
all of
dollars, U.S. dollars, are used to buy and sell drugs.
Yeah,
so,
on the internet.
Point blank.
Right? So go arrest the people that run the Federal Reserve.
Do you because you have had the privilege of meeting all sorts of the radical people during last 6-7 years, as I
call them the new moderates.
New moderates. I call them radical. I want to play devil advocate with you, and I am part of the so-called concerned government. Now, these radicals, or new moderate, as you name them, every one of them come with a solution of his or her own. To some extent, or at least they are very intelligent people. They come up with some sort of out-of-the-box thinking. Do you have any of those ideas of your head, from top of your head, that you can share with us that could be feasible?
Well, I mean, there's a lot. Are we talking about political?
No, about
things here?
let's say focus on the issue of the exchange of the goods and to replacing the money the way it is with something else. Let's focus on one part of the disease.
I happen to be have been involved in alternative currency movements for a long time. I used to be on the board of a credit union, so I've seen it from a lot of different angles. I used to be president of the Toronto Dollar Association, which is an alternative currency in Toronto.
Okay.
And the LET system, the local employment and trading system that was originated in British Columbia, and has got
and how
different
those
systems
three
all
are
around.
doing right now? Which brings me to...
I say that none of them are doing as well as they could or should.
Why do you think this the reason is?
I think that it's a big challenge to reinvent the monetary system successfully in a way that serves people and serves a lot of people. I think it's a big challenge. So I actually, when I look at something like Bitcoin, I'm glad to see that somebody's trying something. And it's interesting. To me, I find it fascinating to see how well it works. The Toronto dollar currency has a very different model than the LET system. And I look at both of those systems and I see advantages and disadvantages to each. There's other systems called the time dollars, which is a system that has been implemented in Ithaca, New York, and that equates time to currency values. And there's pros and cons to that system as well.
Do you know about the UN when World War II was over, and then they created they created the IMF, they created the World Bank, but they also created a structure in a sense of how to rethink money and how to the monetary system.
Are you talking about the Bretton Woods
Yes,
agreement?
because the idea is that the countries that are less fortunate cannot compete in this monetary system. And what happened was, from that system, is because it was at such a high level, the rich said never. Because once you reinvent the money system, you make the rich poor. That's what you ultimately do.
You certainly shake up the status quo. So the people that are benefiting from the current system are going to be against a change that shakes things up. And that's just that's human nature. So...
Let me put you another scenario, just hypothetical. Let's say, Hugh, you run on the next election, provincial or federal, doesn't matter. And you get to the point that you have your sayings has a room to grow. Would you or will you introduce such a bill to isolate the monetary system and or any one of those methods or any other alternative methods? I'm not saying you are getting there. I'm saying, are you willing to even introduce that bill?
I think that referring to what Segan was saying earlier, a politician that gets into a position like that, it's like he's never going to get the chance to propose any kind of legislation like that.
So we have to just put a nail on this coffin and just sit back and let a small group of people who so-called representative of the people with a very little number of the votes tell us exactly how we live.
No.
Well, it is what I'm gathering from you, both of you.
Well,
both of you are completely discard the issue of the process.
The process is a facade. You can't ask a facade
I
to
understand
change.
that. I understand. My question is, if something is facade and you cannot change it, you must find a way to change it.
Right.
And the only way you change it to get into it.
No, you know what? Okay, but actually, this is interesting, Bauman, because when you came in here today, before the show, Segan and I were locked up in the back office, and we were just messing around. We're actually working on stuff. We are doing what we can. One of the reasons I started that channel was because I am trying to, and Segan has his organization, and the reason we're working together is we are trying to figure out ways to make some kind of changes. That are
I
gonna
was not
address-
accusing you. I just was saying.
I'm answering the question.
Yeah, no, I'm saying through the electoral system. Do you think is there any chance?
The electoral system?
I know you pick your own battles. I know we as an individual pick our own battles the way we can. However, what I'm asking is, do you as individuals who are in this field, who are in this game, let me put it this way, who are in this survival game, you put a nail on the coffin of the process. I'm not saying that you are sitting there and doing nothing and you give up. What I'm saying is, do you think that there is no hope through the electoral process? That is my question.
What do you
Yes or no?
I'll say no. But
I say no.
Yeah, the short answer is no.
The short answer is no.
No.
And the long answer we already heard. Why? Because we know these people are puppets of the couple of the corporation, that it is money runs their campaign. Therefore, they are slaves. And
Have you ever been to Parliament? Have you ever been to Queen Street Parliament? Have you ever been inside the parliamentary place where they sit down?
no, I am hoping to get there.
No, but I mean, go visit it. I want you to go visit it. And do you know what's so awkward about that visit when I visited it? When you visit it, look on the roofs. They have all these carvings on the roofs. And when you look at some of these carvings, you actually see horns and devils. Literally. You think I'm joking. Have you been
I
there
am
before?
not.
I've been there, but I don't remember the carvings.
No, I am not.
I am telling you. I challenge you. I challenge you.
I cannot rely on just a couple of the carvings.
Bomin, if you got elected, you'd have to deal with that every day.
But what I'm saying to you is that the electoral process is hijacked. It's hijacked. It's not your process anymore. It has no support for you. It has no love for you. It doesn't even think about you when it wakes up, when it sleeps. The only time it thinks about you is when it calculates your tax money and how it's going to spend it. That's the only time.
I totally agree. I am not even disputing what you say.
So then why?
Why? As I said, everybody picks up their own battle. I don't want to give my terms of surrender that easily. That is the difference.
Okay. Well, it's nice to see that, Bomin.
Well,
And I wish you all the best.
Yeah, why?
I wish.
Spend your time. Why?
listen,
Why go there?
with the people like you yourself. Listen, I really have empathy and sympathy with the views because I agree with what you say. I witnessed with what you say. The only difference is, again, you pick up your own battle the way you can. You pick up your own battle the way you can, and all will be counted at the end. There is no doubt about that. The result of all of the efforts will come one day. Maybe we are not alive, but will come.
Moses.
But the point I am trying to say is, if we decide collectively, as a whole society, let's say 70% of the society comes and say, hey, electoral process is not working.
Let's make a new one.
Let's make a new one. What is the next one? What is the alternative one?
Well, nobody really knows until it actually happens.
Oh, well, then the people are having the fear of the chaos and anarchy.
Do you know where the real fear is? The real fear is looking at the laws and seeing that the laws do not mesh with our time and age. We are in a place where I can connect to somebody in Japan in a millisecond. This was not possible in the olden days. The laws that we have today do not support or do not understand the processes of the new age.
Well, I understand that.
So then how can you work in the laws that don't understand that?
Well, because there is not that I'm working in the law. The law became the rules. And the rules you have to apply. For instance, you were talking about tax. You don't agree with the system, but you have to pay your taxes, don't you?
According to some people.
Well, I'd like to see what the law says.
No. I'm not specifically saying you personally. What I'm saying is, if you don't agree with all of these, even if you choose not to pay tax, but still you are paying tax because you are going to buy something in the Loblaws, Shoppers, Drug Mart, anything, and you pay taxes.
Right.
So even though you disagree with the whole process, whole system,
Yeah.
still you are good. You're producing milk for the system.
Well, so
Put
what
it
are
this
you
way.
going to do? You're going to withdraw completely from the system. The thing
That is I am
here's what's going to
questioning.
happen. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
So what's happening is the system, as a whole, that includes the parliament and the government, is more and more dysfunctional every day. Okay, more and
we
more
witness every
people
day.
are not served by the system every day, and one day
It's gonna fall.
it's just gonna fall, and it might be very chaotic on that day. It was very chaotic when Rome fell, and
Look what came out of the ashes of Rome.
yeah. So
Very tiny place.
the thing is, it's
After
gonna,
Rome came
it's
Europe.
going to fall. The world financial system cannot help but fall and fail, and we're all going to suffer from that.
And the only reason it's surviving right now because Marxists predicted the financial system will fall. And then the economics said, okay, we're not going to fall. What we're going to do is we're going to take on the backs of the poor. And they created more atrocities. And they created neo-colonialism.
Let me play another devil advocate role here. Do you think if falls any form of government, like system, not government, system, because when a system falls, it not necessarily means that there wouldn't be another government. But let's say system is falling, and do you think rich really loses or get richer?
I think what's going to happen, the people with the guns will win.
Who has a gun?
The army has the gun, the police have the gun.
Yeah, they'll win they'll win in the start.
For temporary.
No, not temporary. It may be long time. It may be long time while they win. But again, he's right. Basically what he's saying, and he wants to say it in the nicest ways, and I'm going to say it boldly, but the system only changes when people understand that, and I don't want to sound so ugly or mean, but for death to the system to come, many people will have to die.
Well, that is bold. We are talking about...
Although we do have another bold plan, Mohammed, and that is to convert all those FEMA coffins in the FEMA camps into cat shelters, so that some of these homeless cats living downtown Toronto will have a place to stay.
Speaking of the homeless, I can give you another example of the money plays. The city of Toronto claims that they have about 5,000 homeless, and they claim they are spending about $200 million a year to try to help them. That means $40,000 for each homeless. If they would given them $20,000 vouchers to pay the rent, they wouldn't be homeless, would they?
They'd rather give it to companies like Salvation Army.
Yeah.
As Salvation Army, even if you look at their history, it's atrocities. It's atrocities.
And plus, think of all the useless bureaucrats that would lose their job administering the homeless system.
Yes, and they cannot. They won't vote for the specific party.
And they wouldn't even let people sleep in a commercial building when there's all these empty damn warehouses and you can't even set up beds there because it goes against land coding.
So I am gathering that neither of you are going to run.
Well,
One day.
not next year.
Which one are we talking about, federal or
We
provincial?
will run. Do you know what? I will run one day. But one day when there's a voice. When there's a voice, when my voice is not streamlined through commercial media. When I can reach millions of people without being censored.
So you want guarantee?
I want the guarantee of not my words being manipulated, and I want the guarantee of not being manipulated by a system that's controlled by the capital, where if you're investing in me, that I have to support you. No, you're investing in me because you want to see the good for the poor. And if you're not investing in me because of that, then don't invest in me. But I don't want to be trapped that if I don't take your investment, I can't win. Because if I have a voice, I don't need your investment. If I have a voice of people, all I need is my voice. And all I need is my ideas. And my ideas will rule the day, opposed to your investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm getting to the point that I think that I'm really have money. I didn't know because he keep telling me you are investing on me.
He got the time.
That's good news.
And I want to share with you because one of the things I think you are younger gentlemen, probably you are not aware of that, is not that your voice is being heard. You never get the chance even to broadcast your voice. That is the problem. If you be able to broadcast it, then I am pretty sure those who will hear it, some could relate to that.
Just a point, and I know I've made this point before,
Yeah.
Bauman, too, but one of the things about we're supposed to be in a representative democracy where the people who get elected in our ridings go to Ottawa or Queen's Park to represent our communities. But what really happens in a because we have a political party system, right?
That's
the
good.
political party system does not represent the people of the ridings. The political party system, if you're elected from any riding and you're a liberal, you're going to have to vote the way that it works in Parliament with the rest of the Liberals. The party whip will make sure you vote with the party. And what that means is it's the party agenda that goes forward, not the best interest of the people in any given particular riding. So the party system itself undermines democracy by definition. So I think the political party system has to go away before we even can, with a straight face, call it a representative democracy.
Are you aware? I am pretty sure many citizens of this country are not aware of that. But in the parliament, the Westminster parliamentary system, there is no word of the party.
Where's that?
There is no word about the party
Where?
in the parliamentary system, the Westminster parliamentary system that we are running.
There's no what?
Party.
There is no party.
Well, what is it?
There is always representative. The issue of the party, you see, at the beginning, at the time that they used to travel by the horse and buggy, they sent their representative as you described. Mm-hmm. And then when they were in the parliament, mm-hmm. over any given issue that they had agreement, mm-hmm. then they became voting coalitions.
Yeah.
So I am from Welland or Aurora or Toronto Centre, and we three agree on, let's say, in the social service or health care, mm-hmm. to say yeah. Mm-hmm. Gradually, they start to put the name for themselves. Yeah. Oh, whoever votes for this kind of the issue become liberal. Whoever votes for that kind of the issue become. But there is no such a thing as a party. In fact, the name of the party on the ballot came to the effect just in 1972 when mm-hmm. elections came.
Yeah.
We didn't have that.
No.
I think, guys, we are out of the time. Mm-hmm. I thank you, both of you. Very refreshing. I hope our audience enjoyed this kind of the battle, and I'm pretty sure this kind of the discussions and debates are going in every household when it comes to the election. But still, I believe, unlike your point of view, getting to the electoral system is the fastest way you can change the system if you can continue. Any last thoughts?
I respect your belief.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, I wish you were right, and maybe you are, and maybe you can prove me wrong. But I think we'll just see how things unfold. And in the meantime, while we are waiting for the systems that exist to fall apart, there's a lot of people working on new systems, and I think that's how things go. Because there was a time, we didn't have parliamentary democracy, mm-hmm. right? Nobody really foresaw it coming, but it kind of
there was no anarchy.
emerged out of an old system, an old feudal system, an old monarchy system,
tribal.
So who knows what's next? But I know there's a lot of people trying to make sure that it's going to work for more people than the current system is working.
Great. Thank you again for being such a live guest for independent nations, and I will see you on March 10th on our next show. Thank you.